And there we go. Right, okay, so a little bit about me. Oh, let me turn my camera on just to start the session. A little bit about me. My name's Phill Ruffell. I'm an e-learning coordinator and general anything with E before it person for our college in North Hertfordshire. I do undergo staff training or undertake staff training and also advise on systems. So I'm currently deep in working with IT on the new updates to Teams and rolling out all of those systems. One of the things I'm also passionate about is accessibility. It seems pretty clear that there's no reason. Oh, actually, let me turn on my subtitles. There we go. Lovely. Are we running Yes, there we go. So it seems pretty clear to me that there's no reason for anyone to not have accessibility to documents and just generally to the Windows environment. So there's lots that can be really simply included to make your documents too accessible. Now, the title of the session is Accessibility or Productivity. So I demonstrate accessibility tools to classes around the college and also to staff. And one of the things I promote is that these are not accessibility tools. These are tools to make you more productive, whoever you are. So for instance, I use some of these tools, even though I don't have a kind of accessibility need. But I feel that they're important for everybody. So I was inspired by this comment from Hector Minto. When you meet a deaf person, who is disabled, you or the deaf person? And the answer, of course, is both of you. You are both disabled by that situation. You don't know how to do sign language. They are unable to communicate with you. You are both disabled, and therefore the burden is shared between you and the other person. It's on both of you to sort that out if you want to succeed together. And so using some of these tools, it's very easy to include accessibility within your materials. Now, as I was saying, I demonstrate this to staff and students as productivity tools. So it's important to make sure that the students are aware of these tools and not just the staff, not just what you can do for them. It's about how you can empower other people. So the things I'm going to be running through today are some of the Office features, but also some of the Windows features. So there's lots, in fact, there's more than I can cover in this session in terms of accessibility within Windows, but I'll show you a few easy to use and easy to consider options that you can demonstrate in classes. So Immersive Reader and Dictation. So Immersive Reader to have materials read back to you. I would use that specifically, or I would use that, let's say at lunchtime. I've got a load of assignments to mark. I want to read or listen to the assignments, but I don't want to sit for another hour in front of a screen. So for me as a productivity tool, this enables me to sit there, turn away from the screen, have my lunch, and then to be listening to the materials. Obviously, there's a sort of accessible need for that as well. Dictation allows me to type directly into the computer using my voice. Live captions, as we're seeing in this at the bottom of the screen, allows us to make our materials available in all formats, audio and the ability to read things. But also checking accessibility. So with your documents, sometimes people won't necessarily even be using the software that's available within Office 365, but they'll have quite separate accessibility tools. So things like Dragon Naturally Speaking, or materials to read back. Can't think what it's called now. So for people who are profoundly blind, it allows audio to come to read back from web pages and things like that. Then some of the things we can do in Edge, but then, as I say, also some of the Windows features. So let's pop on straight away to Immersive Reader. So if I come up here with a document, so I've got an article which is the BBC from the BBC News from today, and the interface in this is not too crowded, but sometimes interfaces can be incredibly crowded. And what read mode in Immersive Reader allows us to do is to remove some of that background material and make it easier for students and us to read. So for instance, on a tablet, I use this all the time, really. So up here, we've got a reading view icon in the address bar. And I'm going to click that, and it automatically strips out all of the other material other than the main content, text and images. So by simply turning that off, I can go back to the original page. So remember, this is the original page we're looking at here. So now I can read it and I can resize as I need. And I'm using my middle mouse wheel and the control key just to scale up. For ease of use, really. So I've got a document that we can now resize, but I can also get it to read back. In fact, let me just turn on my system audio. There we go. And let's just kick that off again.
GCSE and A-level exams, says Labour.
So if you can't
Image
hear the
copyright
audio,
PA
you'll
Media.
see on screen that words are being
Next year's
highlighted.
A-level and
These are the
GCSE
words
exams in
that
England should be
are
pushed back to
being
midsummer to help cope with the
read
impact of
back
coronavirus,
from the,
Labour has said.
from the page.
Shadow Education Secretary Kate Green said students starting year 11 and 13 in September had a mountain to climb.
So I've got kind of two tools working in unison there. One, read mode, which allows us to strip out of a lot of the content and avoids visual crowding. There's an awful lot going on that page, and that might be for someone who finds heavy image and text content very difficult to read. So they could use it just to read off the screen. But also, I can use read aloud.
Coronavirus.
Read aloud
Push back GCSE and A-level exams, says Labour.
Hear the content from the screen as well. So I've sort of got two uses there. I've got different options. I can change the speed, and I think I've sat in on some accessibility sessions for blind people, and I find people who are blind, because they don't have the same visual sort of visual. I don't know what a good word for it is. They're only listening to the words. They're not seeing all the images on screen. So they tend to read a lot faster. So you might have
Image copyright PA Media.
You might have someone reading.
Next year's A-level and GCSE exams in England should be pushed back to midsummer to help cope with the impact of coronavirus.
This allows people to have set the speed that they want to hear it back. Obviously, it could be slower as well, and you can change your voices. So we can have a voice that is natural to their own country as well, with an accent to it. So that's a fantastically useful tool. And as I say, I use that as a productivity tool to avoid some of the visual elements that might be getting in the way. So if I now go off to documents here. Let me go back to, here I have a document. It's a Word document. It's a Word Online document, but you can do exactly the same thing in Word for desktop. So I've got a document here, and I want that read back to me. So if I go to View, I have Immersive Reader, which is the same system. So if I click on Immersive Reader, it will change the format again to reduce visual crowding. I can change the text size, so I'll bring the text size down a little bit. And there's loads of options that can be set, and this is the end user who would be setting these. So I can increase spacing or decrease spacing. I can change some fonts. I can change my background color if I need to, and I can actually add loads of different other color options there to tailor it so the end user can tailor it how they need to. I can also break it up to syllables should I need any support with reading. Breaking words down into syllables will make it easier for me, and I've got a whole set of options here for highlighting nouns, verb, adjectives, and actually just coming to understand language. For some people this can be really useful. So if English is a second language, people are learning to speak English using a computer or to read English using a computer. This will sort of highlight the elements, the different elements of language there. And I can also show labels, so even that's an adjective and that's a verb. If I go across to the third item there, again in reducing visual crowding, I've already removed all of the visual elements from my document and reduced it just to the words, but now I can also reduce it even further by using line focus, again for people who find problem accessing visually crowded documents. So if I press play on
Video
that,
provides a powerful way to help you prove your point. When you click Online Video, you can paste in the embed code for the video you want to add.
So, and that'll allow me to scroll up and down it. And I can change those settings all to be the whole document. So let's go back to there. We have a picture dictionary. Picture dictionary, again, useful for some students. So if we pause over a picture, we can see a word and we can see some picture descriptions of that word, and even I can even click on the word and it will give me
document.
There we go. It'll give me a text, an audio description of that. I mentioned earlier for people coming to learn English and English language. So I've got a document which is unfortunately in English, but I have a person who is mainly their first language is is something else. In fact, I'm going to go all the way down to Welsh. So now I'm going to translate this document, the whole document, and now I have a Welsh document, that same document in Welsh. And if I start the reader off, oh, read aloud is not currently available. So if you select a language and it says that the language isn't adjusted for audio output on that. So what we'll do is we'll switch it to, let's do Spanish Spain. Let's do the document. And then
El vídeo proporciona una forma
now we
poderosa
have
de
a
ayudarte a
document
demostrar tu punto.
which is in English.
Al hacer clic en vídeo en línea, puede pegar el código de inserción del vídeo.
We've reduced the image, the text to have just the image elements. We've included the text elements. We've included the our options for how we would like our document colored and what we would like to have highlighted out of syllables, and we've even translated it to a separate language. So now I can review that language in English in its standard view, or I can go to Immersive Reader, and then I can translate it to a language of my choice. Let's have a look here. I wonder if it'll do Hebrew. Let's try Hebrew as our document.
וידאו מספק דרך רבת עוצמה לעזור לך להוכיח את הנקודה שלך. בעת לחיצה.
Which is a fantastic feature. That's available on that Immersive Reader is available on everything for the web in Office 365, including the ability to read out your document, your emails. So I actually did some staff training, and afterwards one of the staff came to me and said, I'm dyslexic and I've never told anybody. That's a game changer for me. That's really made a difference to me, because obviously most of the material comes in as words, as type. So that was a fantastic feature. So look out for Immersive Reader, desktop and web views. It's really, really useful. Something else we can do here. So we've taken the reading task out by allowing us to hear the words on the page. But actually, if I go to the Home tab on this document, I have a dictate option. So now I can dictate. Let me just use this drop down. I can dictate. Transcribe is a really new feature. Actually, I haven't included that in this presentation. It's only come out just before the weekend. Similar in its function though. So now I have set dictate. We will see the words will start to come up on the screen. Full stop, new paragraph. And actually, I can talk quite fast before it starts to cause problems. So it's really effective way of typing without actually using my rather arthritic hands. Let's turn that off there. So dictation is a fantastic entry point. In fact, dictation works also, as does reading mode. If I turn it over to here, turn my phone on. Let's let me enter some text. So now I'm on my mobile phone and it's even adding content to that document from my phone. So obviously the document is shared in the cloud so that I can access it from different sources and devices. So I turn that off and we zoom in. Let me zoom in, come on. There we go. And you'll see that even this way, there's no barrier to me being able to put content into a document. Whoops, apart from when I turn it to landscape. So it's really effective tools. It shows that mobiles can be used in this way just as much as desktop machines or tablets. In fact, anything. This is an Android phone. Android, iPhone works in exactly the same way. The key is using something like the Office app to allow you, to allow students and you to add content. And I'm still demonstrating live captions. So on to Accessibility Checker. I've created this document and I want to make sure that it's accessible to everybody, whether they can see the full content or not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Review, and then I have Accessibility, check accessibility. Let me just zoom in there. Whoops, a bit too far. Check accessibility. So what I'm going to do is run the accessibility checker, and it's going to give me some tips on the right-hand side. It's going to give me some tips as to what I can do to improve my content, my document for accessibility. So if I click on one of these, it's going to give me a report. It's going to highlight this picture and it's going to tell me that there is missing alternative text. So alternative text is text that would be read back through a screen reader. So if I right click on there, oh, hang on a sec. Accessibility check. Oh dear, let me just open in desktop app. Right, let me just open this in the desktop app first. Right, same document. If I right click on this, I have alt text. So alt text is where I will add a description to this. So if I click on there, I can see a little pane in the right hand side. It'll generate a description for me. So let's give it a whirl and see what happens. Close up of a camera. I'm going to call that a picture of a video camera because I feel that's more effective in describing what I'm seeing on the screen. So I've now added alt text to that. If I go back here, continue here, let me just get the document reloaded. And if I run the accessibility checker again, so it's cleared that point. I've now added alt text to that. So if I click on that one, which I think is the only other image in there, it says missing alternative text. So again, I need to edit the document. So let's go through to here. Let's right click, add alt text, and I'll call it a family group around a TV. There we go. I could put a greater description in there, but I think that's enough to identify what we need to, how the tool works. So let's run the accessibility checker again. Oh, has it saved my document? Let's have a look. Edit alt text. Yes, it is. Let's go in there. So that's now saved. Let's take a look at this document again. There we go, and it's cleared. I was being a bit too quick there because it has to go up to the cloud and down again. Now this is a really interesting one. Image or object not in line. So when this picture is described, it will be described at this particular anchor point. And what is going to happen with that is the description won't come up at the right time. So in terms of making my documents accessible, I don't actually do this. I make all my images in line. They don't need to look pretty. I don't think, well, you can still make them look pretty. So let's go in line with text and let's put that across there. So now my image, and actually there's no reason to have it so small. If you want people to see an image, why aren't you showing it at full size? So now people can see the image and it will be read back to people. So let's do a recheck on that. And there we go, accessibility check is complete. So we can now see that that document is now fully accessible to people. I try when I'm working with students, especially as we've moved to the cloud, so much of it has moved to the cloud, to say, if you're producing an assignment or a document, yes, it should be accessible and you should be creating accessible content always, but don't put lots of little pictures around the page unless it's a design document. So a document for an assignment or for publication as a poster, there's no reason to do that. Pictures should be where they appear. So over to Edge. Let me go back to, I'll choose another document here. Here we go. So back to Edge and Reading View. What I've done is I've opened up a PDF file here. So Edge is a really fantastic tool. There's loads of things you can use to leverage it for your teaching and actually planning and things. So this is a PDF document. It's got read aloud.
Online learning, video conferencing guidelines. This guidance has been created.
So I've got all the facilities to have this document as an accessible document. I can change some of my options again. Same as we demonstrated before. You can see both tools used in Harness there, but also collections. So in terms of accessibility, sometimes people can find having to jump between browsers and applications really sort of complicated, and managing those multiple tasks can take away from the learning. It sort of adds to the cognitive load. So what one feature that is really useful up here is collections. It's not strictly an accessibility tool. It's certainly is a productivity tool, but it depends on your view of the world. So collections are a bit like favorites, but on steroids. So let's get started here. So these are my collections that I've made before. If I want to start a new collection, I'll click Start a New Collection, give it a name, Demo, as I always do. I'm going to add the current page, which it won't add because it's not online. So let's go through to News. Oh, let's go through to... let's find, there we go. That's probably a better one to look at. So here I've got a document and I feel this document's really, this page is really important to add. So I'm just going to add that. And it's, yes, that's like a bookmark. It's exactly the same thing. But actually I can add a note to that. This is a great page about... So I can add notes to this. So rather than just have a random set of favorites, what I've done is I've themed them by a collection, which of course you can do in favorites anyway, but I've also added notes to it. One of the other things that you can do with this is I can grab that piece and drop that in. I can say, still not enough space. Let's grab that and let's drag that over and drop that in. So now I'm starting to build up what you can imagine is a research piece. I might use this for students when I'm building up a piece of learning. You could use Wakelet and many other things to do the same thing. And again, I can add notes and I can reorder the items in there. But one of the other things I can do, if I click on, if I click on this icon, I can send this collection to Word. So that will send it to Words. And if I go to my, I'm just going to pull this off screen and check it out, just in case. So I'm going to go to office.com. Whoops. Hang on a sec. Office.com. I'll go to OneDrive. So let's all running a bit slow now. Let's pull that up on the screen. And when that refreshes, now I need to make it into a list. Oh, it's running very slow now. Ascending. So what I'm about to demonstrate here is where my document has gone. So it's a collection. Let me just pull this off screen and do that. And I'll bring back that main, let's just bring back that main stream while I look at it. Oh, I think it's decided to, yeah, it's giving up the ghost a little bit. Just hang on. Collections. There we go, coming up. So what it does is it drops those documents into a folder in your OneDrive called Microsoft Edge Collections. Actually, I was logged into another account, so I can't show that one, but let's show this one instead. So it produces a page with all my links, all my images, and it even references them. So in terms of a research tool, bearing in mind that things will be a lot faster than they are here currently, what it would allow a student to do is, or us, is to produce all the research that they need for a document, gather that for an assignment, gather them all together, and then simply push it into one Word document, Word online document, so that they can use it already referenced in their assignment work. Really useful collections. The other thing is search in Sidebar. So if I go to news again, let me just grab some BBC News. BBC's not everybody's choice of news service, but it will be for mine. Let's go text, tech. Oh, FBI is worried that Ring doorbells are spying on police. So we'll find a bit in here. Let's have a look. Right, so what I want to do is I want to find out a little bit more about this subject here. So what I'm going to do is highlight the words, and then I'm going to search in Sidebar. Sidebar then opens up, and it allows me to see a group of articles directly from my browser without having to go off and manage multiple browsers. So I can then click on a document, and it'll open up in a new tab. A really useful way to gather research, again, for students who find organisation a bit of an issue. Using collections and search in Sidebar allows them to stay within one ecosystem, and obviously has great benefits for that. So let's come back and have a look at the chat. Has anybody asked any questions? No, if you'd like to put your hand up before I go on to the next bit, feel free to. Or come off mute and ask a question. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And okay, let's move on then. So Windows 10, accessibility features in Windows 10. There are far too many to be managing within any sessions, but if you go to your settings homepage, you'll find there is an update, ease of access center. You can tell the one I go to most. Ease of access center. So ease of access has loads of things available to personalize your Windows 10 PC or a Windows 10 PC. And it's important that students understand this to be able to tailor their experience to exactly what they would like. A couple of things I'm going to highlight on this. So ease of access centers, you can really important to become familiar with some of those things, especially if you're supporting students. You can really empower them by allowing them control. So color filters is one of them. So let's pull back across here, and I'm going to look down at color filters. So color filters will allow your screen to be adjusted based upon your need. So for instance, if you've got red green sensitivity or red weak, I don't even know how to pronounce that, but your green weak, your red weak, or you have a blue yellow bias. So by clicking on one of these, in fact, let me just turn it on. So by clicking on one of these, we can adjust the screen. I don't know how it'll come across in screen sharing, but hopefully it'll be true. So we've got the screen sharing off, we've got the color filters off, and then we can change by turning it on, and you'll notice Win Control C are the shortcuts. So we can turn it on, and it'll adjust for any of those biases. I usually use grayscale. I just find it easy to read. So when I'm working, I work in grayscale, and then I'll do Control Win C and bring it back to full screen when I need to see color for anything. So when Control C, it's a toggle, so it turns on and off. Really easy to adjust color filters. Text suggestions. Now I've got my fingers crossed for this one because we're doing captions, live captions in an event, and I'm going to demonstrate how we can take even the lowliest of Windows program, programs and make it to some degree accessible. So Notepad, if you've not used it before, it's edit where you can put words in there and you can change the order that they're in, and that's it. So it's used for programming and just general note taking. In fact, there's a really cool thing that you can do with Notepad to create your own PowerPoints. So if you type in, let me just give you this tip quickly. First slide. If I hit first slide and then I press a tab and I put my name, Phill Ruffell, then go second slide, tab, point 1, tab, point 2. So I'm using about as stripped down an application as you can get. If I save this as a text document, every non-indented piece of text will be a new slide heading. Every indented text will be a heading 1 in paragraph formatting. And in fact, if you tab it across, then it'll be a heading 2. Will become a heading 2. So there's a different hierarchy. So by using Notepad, you can really strip out everything and just focus on words. Demonstrate that to students to show how applications are interoperable, but also to demonstrate how they might want to get away from PowerPoint and think about their content before they focus on the design of a document. Right, so this is going to show text suggestions. So again, text suggestions are on the Ease of Access Center. But if I press Windows H, you'll see at the top of the screen, it's now highlighted that I am having Windows 10 listening, and then everything I am saying, I am typing, full stop, new paragraph. Let's turn that off. So that's absolutely amazing to be able to type into even the lowliest program. Same thing works for any form element on a web page. So if someone has to fill in forms, for instance, so if you use Microsoft Forms in your teaching and learning, you can use this with WinH text suggestions to type to automatically recognize voice descriptions and type straight into tabs, which is really useful. But also, you'll see that I am now typing and it's coming up with text suggestions for me. It's suggesting words that it thinks I will need. Thanks for, but it also checks spelling for your email of the 25th. I will, so you'll see it's suggesting words that I would be using, and that's something that would come up in sort of Rewrite Gold or something like that. It's not quite sophisticated, but even the lowliest program will allow you to have text suggestions in there, which is really powerful. And something more importantly, you don't need any extra software to be able to do this. So you just need a Windows 10 PC, and every student has all the accessibility features that they need, both at college and at home. And if they start using that, that becomes their usual way of working. And then should their usual way of working be open to them in exams? We have a discussion around that at the moment. So I think that's the majority of the tools that I was going to show. Has anybody got any comments on anything they've seen so far? Anything you haven't used, or anything that you'd like to suggest as well as tools? No feedback from students if you've used any of these tools? Okay, that's good. find that more and more our students are using these kind of features that are built straight into Office Online, and actually most classes, if you walk into, the students are accessing via Office Online rather than going to the standard desktop apps. And in fact, I use a lot of these features, but I also use them in Word Online. It allows me to save my work, listen to it in a way that I want to have my content fed to me, and gather all my resources together. Last tips I suppose I could give is, if you've never used it, try To Do. So I suggested this app. So To Do is a to-do list, pretty much. I suggested this app to a student who had real problems sequencing and organizing themselves. They found that they jump all over the place and find it very hard to focus. So what we did is looked at this, look at this. We looked at this app, and it allowed him to plan out what he was going to do in a session and how he was going to work for his assignments. So I've got a kind of joke list here. So this is a Get Happy list. If you know the song Get Happy, we have a set of stages that people need to go through to actually be happy, to attain happiness. So let's click on these tasks. So I've got one task, which is to get people to clap along. So if they feel like a room without a roof, I certainly do. If I feel like happiness is the truth, I firmly believe it is. If they know what happiness is to them, I kind of think I do. And if I feel like that's what I want to do, and actually I'd like to be happy most of the time, happy class and a happy staff room is a happy Phill. So those are all my subtasks, and I can obviously set reminders for any of those. And then I've achieved that task. So now I can be happy that I'm finally achieved complete and utter happiness according to the popular song. So that's a really good one. Let's have a look. So the conversation pane is someone who suffers from colour blindness. Showing students the colour filters on Windows is really important. Yes, it is. Absolutely. And you never know who is going to find these tools useful. So I've seen these tools as separate students being pulled out and being shown these tools, and I think it's appalling. I think we should show everybody these tools, and they can use them as they wish. So someone else teaches sewing construction. Use the Immersive Reader to read instructions while I sew. Yes, absolutely. And there's no reason why you couldn't do it for your recipes as well. I think when I used a Windows 8 tablet, like long time ago now, it had the ability to wave over the camera and stop the reader. It wasn't Immersive Reader, it was an separate app that you installed. So rather than have kind of hands covered in flour and yeast and all sorts of stuff, I just wave over the camera. It was really lovely. Someone implements subtitles and captions. Yes. Yeah, that's a really good idea. I think also that one thing that is important to remember is that captions aren't captured on screen recordings, or as I last checked it last week, I think Friday. So when you're recording like this session, it will record to Stream, and then Stream will create captions. So one of the features that I would really like is for the recording in Teams for you to be able to draw off the text content for people to read. I was in a session with our support team last week, and it was how to set up a remote session with someone who needs a signer. So they might want to go back and review the content later, but they want to see signs as well. So I'm looking at a kind of picture-in-picture solution for those, so that the signer can be on the same screen as the presenter. Unfortunately, it requires extra software to be able to do that, but I think it's something that we're following up. and we'll be sharing when we've got there. Has anybody else got any questions? Okay, anything else you'd like to see? If not, Rebecca, I think we've kind of reached the end of the session.
Okay, thanks very much. That's been great.
That's okay. I hope people found it useful. There's always new features coming out, and it's always worth keeping an eye out for it. Obviously, Twitter and things like that.
Yeah, I thought I was quite well up on this, and you've mentioned quite a few things that I haven't come across yet. So it's
excellent. That's awesome. It's nice to. What I'd like is for someone to say, "Oh yes, we use this, and it works in this format." That would be really nice to find. I kind of poked around all over the place to see as many things as I can. I'd suggest the Ease of Access Centre really think about your students and think about what they might need, and then just drop into the Access Centre, and then next time you're with them, say, oh yes, this could be really useful, and other people might find it useful as well.
Yeah. I think the one that we've been looking at the most lately has been the Immersive Reader, and the combination of that with the what's it called, where you can photograph text on your phone.
Oh yes.
Yeah, and
Office Lens.
Office Lens, yeah.
I did have time to install Office Lens on my phone. It's on me. It's on my iPhone, but I can't mirror my iPhone to the computer.
It's a hard one to demonstrate, yeah. And then obviously you can combine that with, the Immersive Reader and the translation tools all on your. It's great now. You can do it all on your phone. So for I know the receptionist I was talking to at Scarborough Tech, is all set up ready if anybody arrives, who has any issues with language and stuff like that. Then we're all set now.
Yeah. And we run new staff inductions. They've been running online for a while now, so we have a new staff induction website. But accessibility features are a main part of the IT one that I've developed as well, so that new staff are getting that right at the beginning, and they're realizing able to realize the benefits of having some of these features.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thanks everybody. It was really a pleasure to share with you some of those tools, and of course, as I say, there's many more, and I will hopefully speak to some of you in the future.